PNR with Adam R. Welcome to 3PNR. I'm your host, Adam R. And with me tonight, I have David Pierce Rodriguez. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thank you, Adam.
Good. So the name of your company is it's PRISM, yes?
Yeah, it's PRISM. I mean, it started my first team, it was in Omaha, Nebraska back in 2000, early 2004, January 2004. And it was supposed to be Paranormal Research Investigative Studies Midwest.
Right. So the acronym, yeah.
What are you going to do?
I keep it. I keep it. It's great. I like it. It's got a good emblem.
Yeah,
so what got you involved with the paranormal study?
When I was a preteen to teen for about like 3.5 years, I went through. I don't talk about it too much. I mean, I guess I talked about it the other day, so on a radio show, so right. Maybe I do. But I went through a possession when I was younger, and that kind of woke me up to the whole thing. But then there was a time when, after I was a teenager, that was all done with, and didn't really think about the paranormal too much. Tried to not think about the paranormal too much, actually. And then it started creeping up on me again in my later 20s, like stuff started happening again. So in my early 30s, I started a paranormal team, just trying to figure out what was, try to get to the bottom of everything.
So you're an experiencer.
Yeah, I guess you would call it that. I mean, I've met people who've gone through the same thing I did when I was younger, but I didn't talk about it for a long, long, long time. Even when I was doing paranormal stuff, even to people in my own team for years, really, because
right.
That's, we hunt ghosts, basically. We're searching for ghosts. We communicate with dead people, but we don't. I mean, I guess now with television, it's different. I mean, Ghost Hunters started the end of like wintertime 2004. So my team had been started prior to that, and there wasn't much of it on television. There was like a show in the UK. I forget what it was called. Most Haunted or something like that. I used to watch, but there really wasn't anything going on, and there wasn't all this like everything is evil and everything is the kind of the demonic stuff that you see on TV now. So basically, I didn't realize maybe at the time that they were two separate things, but I guess I did because I didn't explain to people. But my interest in it was because of possession stuff. Started. And that kind of bleeds into Ghost too, and the paranormal stuff would continue. I guess, I'll just go into it. When you go through that stuff when you're young, that stuff, it sticks around you, I don't know a lot of, and there'll be people that say it's, maybe you have an attachment still, or that's could be what that is, but I think it still happens with people who have gone through, the church and gotten rid of whatever said attachment was. But it's just something happens to you. You're woken up. I mean, maybe it happens to ghost hunters as well. Once you start communicating with the dead, you open a door.
Yeah. Listen, I say this a lot. People who have experience, it's unique because when you approach people that are forming a complaint or they want an investigation, it makes it easier because you're relatable. They're not going to, they'll feel more comfortable opening up to you as opposed to, say, someone who has no experience and they're just out there to find out the truth. So it makes it a little easier. And then, I've spoken to some other paranormal experts on the show, off show, and they say the same thing. Once you open that door, like you just said, it's hard to come back from that because these same entities, as they say, when you make them aware when you're aware of them, they know you're aware, then that's it. You can't undo that, because now you're a vessel for them to communicate through.
Well, it's so true. And I even tell, we started doing PRISM 18 years ago. And back in the beginning, it was more about, I thought there was a team in Omaha, Nebraska. There was like a couple, like it was a man and a woman, kind of like, kind of like the movies, you know, you have the woman was a medium and the man was the investigator with the equipment. And basically I asked them if I could join them and they're like, no, kid, you know, we work by ourselves, you know, we're just a husband wife team. And I go, that's fine. So I started doing like a meetup.com group, and it kind of grew into what PRISM ended up being. But I really thought we'd just go to cemeteries and stuff. And then once we ended up getting to do a possession case and stuff like that, I thought it was going to be good. I mean, I've worked on a few of them now, and it just, I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, that stuff I tell people, it may actually, let me go back to what I was probably, I kind of like branch off a lot, but I'll go back to what I was going to tell you.
Like I said, this is open talk. Speak as you feel, as you would.
And that's what the paranormal does too. I mean, it kind of branches off everywhere. But in the beginning, I was just happy to go to a cemetery or do anything. Literally within 4 months, we were like on the local news in Omaha, and we ended up getting invited to go places besides cemeteries. So it was really good for us and lucky, you know. But I used to just tell everyone on the team, let's go, let's do our thing. But now as we do stuff, I think about who on the team should be going and who shouldn't be going. I mean, especially when it comes to when you do stuff like darker cases, which there isn't much of, thank God. But right. It's just like when I do that, I'd rather not have people with kids go, married people. I mean, I believe it led to my divorce doing a possession case back in Omaha in 2005. And it doesn't breed anything good. It's all negative. You know, I mean, even though we are helping people, it's not easy on people, and it can break up marriages. It can,
yeah, I agree.
Change your whole mental state. You could maybe not even be able to work after it.
Yeah. So I've done some off-air, I've spoken off air to a lot of people, just, you know, not just about paranormal, even UFO research. And you hear some of their lives just come unglued completely. And
totally.
Yeah. And then
they're very similar possession cases. And I mean, there's similarities between possession cases and the people who are the abductees. That's
the focus of my research is there's definitely parallels between abduction and exorcism.
There's differences though too. I mean,
there's differences, but there's a lot of parallels. You know, for like, here's the thing, and I've spoken to a lot of people off air, and you know, I heard there's a lot of guys and girls that they say, you know, once they had this encounter, it was two of them, they welcomed it. They went seeking it out. You know, hobbyists, I guess, and I guess they had an outcome that led to, like you said, mental issues and problems with the relationship, and just couldn't focus at work, and it tore them apart.
You can't really let that stuff into your life without it tearing stuff apart.
Yeah.
It wants to tear stuff apart. I mean, either it wants you to kill somebody or it wants to take you over. I mean, basically, or for you to die. I mean, literally, that's the end game with that type of thing. The reason people like it, because I accepted it into my life at the time when I was young, is because I was the right host vessel for it, with my parents going through a divorce and stuff at age 12, and, you know, lying to me about everything. And then my mom going out and seeing other guys. And anyway, you know, as a little kid, you get really, you know, I was the oldest of two at the time, but I was the oldest child. And I just got angry, and I missed my dad and all that. And so I hated my mom, and that all ended up being the perfect breeding ground
for negative energy.
I lived in a super, super, super haunted house. So, you know, that plus me as the good host, it ended up the thing, but nothing ends up good with it. I only really thought I would do it because I thought it gives you kind of like a power. And I don't know like what that power really is. I mean, there are certain things that people can do that I could do that other people, I guess, can do when you let that power into you. That's, you know.
Well, yeah, you got to understand how powerful the brain is. Like if you, again, I say this for a lot of people, if you meditate for focus purpose, like I did, you know, for competitive focus, or some people meditate for healing purposes, you'd be surprised how strong the brain can make you feel things, ailments that otherwise don't exist. You know what I mean? The brain's strong. So if you try to open a doorway to establish communication with anything, you'd be surprised how powerful your computer is up board, and, you know, your brain.
Oh yes, I mean we're only using a little part of it, and I'm sure the other parts that we aren't using, there's something in there that's
there's electrodes all through the brain.
Locking into that world.
Yeah, if you ever look at an MRI of the brain, it's pretty amazing. There's a lot of real estate that's just not using its full potential, right?
It'd be interesting if they did an MRI. I mean, if you could time travel, do an MRI of somebody back in, I don't know, the BC times or something like that, to see if they were using different parts of their brain, since they were,
Listen, I make room for something, right? And I talked to some of the other paranormal people about this. I've been reading studies, and I've been watching a lot more of this Graham Hancock,
Yeah.
And
it's good.
And then you look at the age of the planet. Understand that Earth is 4 billion years old, in theory, probably older. How many things lived on this planet that perished? They're gone. But their existence is just dust, but their energy remains behind. We don't know what kind of spirits or entities are running around that predate mankind, right?
Oh, exactly. And even in our DNA, I mean, I don't know if you heard that study where, like, if your great-great-great-grandfather was in a world war, that stuff kind of like goes within the DNA structure, and it goes back down to you. Like, how can that happen? Like, a traumatic situation from 4 generations ago affect your DNA now? So that stuff, it definitely, even if it's not just like on a, that kind of that level of just energy, it's within us anyway. All that old stuff we went through and our grandfathers went through.
Yeah, when I listened to Graham Hancock and listening to one of his, he has a really long. I think it's like 6 hours. I haven't gotten all the way through it, but you listen to it and you think about all these living, civil, colonies of people that might have been around, and there's no trace of them today. And then in your back, your imagination runs away. You're like, well, where the hell are their grave sites? And then you think about, if we collapse as a society right now, and if in a few million years, there'll be really no evidence of us at all. It would the earth would reconsume all of it. So some of the entities and these darker forces, or lighter for that matter, I have to make room for the idea that they pre-existed long before us here on this planet. This is an old planet, right? And an even older universe.
Well, most definitely. I would say, like, probably some of the, like, old stuff that existed before was, like, if you go into ufology, and this is kind of where UFOs and ghosts meet, is you get those spirit orbs, those big white lights that are the size of, I don't know, a bedroom, let's say, or smaller. And those things that you see in forests, when I was living in Fort Myers, they'd see it around that area over the water. Fishermen would see these lights break up into 2 and 3 and whatever. That stuff has to be old elemental kind of like beings that have been here forever. I mean, that's what I believe. I don't even think those things are UFOs. I think maybe they fly like UFOs sometimes, but those are in between, those are they're alive somehow, I believe.
For me, I had no real experience. I have no experience with anything. And I'm researching a lot. Even on this show, I have health programs. I'm talking to detectives about cold cases. So there's a big variety. In fact, I have a 90s episode coming up this weekend. But nice. The point I'm making is I make room for so much. A lot of my interest in this is like childhood curiosity and my imagination, and then theories form. And then after you have your theories, you start researching stuff, and then you start finding out how much your theory links up with what science now. And so there's so many possibilities, especially for you. Like you're in a paranormal researcher. God only knows what you're going to come across, because for one spirit that you find somewhere, it doesn't necessarily have to be a human being at some point in time. It could be an energy from millions of years ago, and we don't know how they walk in and around time. There's so much to learn. It's incredible.
Well, there are cases down here, even in Miami. I mean, people think Miami isn't like a haunted place, but like when I first moved down here after my divorce, I met another leader of a team. Her name's Colleen Kelly, and she was telling me about cases that she would do in Miami Beach, where she really believed she was psychic, a kind of medium type of a person, and she would tell me that she would do cases that she would sense like a water elemental type of force going on, and she's like, David, I know there's more going on than just ghosts. There's got to be certain things. There's like these elements that kind of rule things. I'm like, it's interesting. And I've kind of seen what she's been saying. And, there's just so much going on.
I mean, I speak to people that study specifically the afterlife. And even there, I found a lot of parallels. You know, I mean, I don't want to say it's just all hope and fantasy, because there is some unexplainable. Here's an example. And I said this in a few podcasts where I watch this guy, he's in his house, and it's the video where this thing's upside down in the doorway. And I still got to find out who that is. I want to find him. Scared to hell. You could see the fear.
Or like a ghost upside down in the hallway?
And some sort of entity. Like he was in his house filming. He noticed it. He pulled his. I think in the initial filming, he didn't realize what it was there until he looked at it after. And you could see, you could see the adrenaline dump. You could sense it in his voice and the shake of his body. And then, you know, when you look at his eyes and when he's recording stuff describing it, you see fear written in his eye. That's hard to act, that kind of fear. Like that was, he was pale.
You know, that's what's like the difference between like, I guess like 18 years ago doing this and now is nowadays you really have to like, even I do a lot of Spanish television. I have to go on Telemundo tomorrow morning. It's like, and they're really into like that kind of like viral videos that go out and they'll invite me to just talk about a viral video. And a lot of the times, I mean, I don't do CGI as a living. I mean, I'm not saying that video is or not, but like nowadays we live in such a time that you have to kind of verify in your own mind.
Yeah.
You have to put it on social media and see what that like, and nobody will ever like agree anyhow on social media. But like, it's such a different time with like the Ring cameras and the whatever. I mean, I thought maybe it would make things better and we would finally catch stuff, but it's actually, I don't know if
digital
it's worse or not.
It just opens up doorways for digital superimposement. Like when I first got in this, I said, all right, listen, before I do this podcast, because I'm going to do a documentary eventually, I'm going to travel. I said, before I do this, I'm going to sit down and watch videos all day and figure out what's horseshit or not. And to my disappointment, the majority of it was horseshit. You know, because here, I could tell, I'm a pretty tough guy in real life, right? But if I'm in a dark room and something manifests or does what I saw in some of these videos, it's not that I'm scared, but I'm dumping adrenaline. I'm going to shake. You know what I mean? My breathing's going to change because there's that
fight. Natural.
Yeah, it's your fight or flight kicking in, right? So the adrenaline's going, and so there's a guy I'm watching, and I'm not going to highlight his name or embarrass him, but he's doing these videos about something in his house, and he's got powder on the floor, and there's a footprint that appears or some shit, and I know exactly what I could just tell. It's by his camera. For me, if I'm in that room, there's cameras set up already, waiting. I'm not going to walk around with the camera, because if I have to defend myself, a camera in my hands, that's bad for business. So, but then there's that video with that guy. And when so I have this software on my computer, and I try to get the image and blow it up and look for, nonsense involved with it. And I couldn't find any. And that's the one video so far I'm having the hardest time wrapping my head around.
There's some good videos this year. There's some good UFO videos too. That came out recently. With the military stuff, you can't deny the military stuff. The underwater one is awesome. The one that goes underwater and splashes through. And as
far as ghost videos, I'm gonna have to. When you get share some with me, whatever you want me to look at, because I gotta see some.
We've gotten, getting ghosts on video, and you think it'd be easier with all the ghost sightings there are.
Yeah.
Ghosts on video and ghosts on camera. Gotten some good stuff on camera. Over years, you can count it on your hand type of stuff. And video, you can count it on your hand, although video has finally gotten to the quality where it's kind of decent. But like I have stuff from the past, and the video was small resolution. So what are you going to do? But I really believe that ghosts can tell when, I don't know if they're looking at the IR, the infrared, or what they can tell, but they know when that camera's on, because so much stuff happens. When we do investigations, the first thing I say is turn the camera on immediately, get the camera set up, and then turn them off last, because we have gotten so much stuff happening when we're starting up and then when we're winding down at the end, that when you turn the stuff off, I've lost so much stuff by just turning it off too early, Yeah,
listen, if I'm a ghost, and I'm based on the person I am. I'm going to have a lot of fun with the people that are looking for ghosts. I'm going to have a lot of fun with you. A lot. And I don't doubt it, because so for me, one of the places when I do the documentary I'm supposed to travel to is that Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh yeah, I've been watching that show.
I got some that
is place, it the Netflix one, or where was it on? But it's great.
Yeah, that place makes me a little nervous, because a billionaire owned that location and he didn't end up getting anything tangible. That's just another podcast. But then I thought about it afterward. What if there was a ghost like me, or ghosts plural like me out there, and where you're like you said, we know where the cameras are. We're gonna poke fun. Like that's a nightmare scenario, right?
Was it Bigelow? I mean, Bigelow, I thought a lot of the stuff that he had, he kind of kept under wraps, his stuff. And then the new guy came in and kind of did the show.
Bigelow, he doesn't strike me as someone that'll be like, all right, I'm going to keep this myself. He gets something on video, he's going to share it because that's what. But
isn't like most of his stuff like top secret anyway? Doesn't he do like aircraft stuff?
Bigelow Aerospace. That makes it a little, if it's his industry and the stuff he works with, I could see that being, but if he records something to Skinwalker, he's putting it out there. Unless it was something that would, again, because humanity's a fragile state. The fact that we're still racist in 2021. So the ability for humanity to be accepting of new things at that level, maybe then I could see them being suppressed. Maybe, but I think Bigelow, if he found a really good, sharp image of a supernatural being, I think he'd release it.
What's going on there is just weird. I mean, that electromagnetic stuff in the, at the higher levels of the, at 100 feet or whatever is so strange. And maybe it's something like down here, like the Bermuda Triangle or something, maybe it's something basically that's where probably what breeds ghosts is electromagnetic stuff. I mean, that's why they show up around power circuits. And and if they're going to show up, if they're in a house, they're going to show up by usually you can tell people where the ghost is going to be. You just go to where the circuit breaker is, and usually any room around there is going to be really active. And same thing happens. I always wonder. We were one of the first people to go into the Villisca Axe murder house, and that place, I was always like, why is that place so haunted? I mean, there's no power. At the time, there was no power. There's no air conditioning. I think they have little air conditioners now and stuff. But back then they don't allow you to have anymore, but little kerosene lamps that caused a problem one day. So not with us, but another group. So they stopped that. The house almost went on fire. So that's good, but they wanted to keep it all natural. Back then I was like, how come the house is so haunted? I know there's a train track that goes by it, but literally across the street is like the power for Villisca, the power plant is like there. It's not huge, but it's the size of 3 houses, right. And that has to be breeding something in itself,
Yeah. Cause they're just energy, right? Even the afterlife people are some of the afterlife people I've spoken to, although they might vary in opinion on what happens or what goes on thereafter. One thing agreeable is that we're an energy source, right?
Right. But you need something to show up. You're going to need some energy, whether they take it out of you, the camera, or the power plant across the street, which is much easier. They need some kind of power source. I
agree. Yeah. I mean, I asked this question too, why are hospitals not more haunted? And if you think about, and then the guy off-air interview answered a question, made sense. He goes, well, they know. The people there, when they're passing, they're aware, they have time to prep, they know what's going on, and they move on to their next level. It's the people that die instantly that might stick around, or the people that are resentful, or even like me, I'm nostalgic. I'm not going to let go. I like it here. Sorry.
Yeah, I've had a few nurses on my team, and I know, there's haunted hospitals too. I'm sure hospitals are haunted, but it's just in the same way. Here in Miami, they asked me to do to investigate Noel's Animal Clinic. So we went there, and they said that was haunting that place was Mr. Knowles, who died back, 12 years ago. And then they're certain that he shows up there at night. They said, can you please come there and find it? Well, it's a 24-hour vet clinic. There are dogs in cages crying all the time. Yeah. And there's people bringing in dogs. And I was like, this is great and all, but there's no way I'm ever going to find a ghost with this kind of activity going on, human activity and animal activity. And it's that's like a hospital. There's so much crap going on all day there that the beeps and the people and the movement and I'm sure stuff happens.
Yeah, you see, you got it. That's a really good point. That's a very good point. It's always active 24/7.
I mean, people are dying. There's got to be a lot of energy there.
Yeah.
But where do we find it then? Is when the hospital closes and it's abandoned, and then we can go in there and really dig into,
Yeah, and you minimize the ambient noise. And recently, to be honest with you, when I first got involved with researching all this, before they even started a podcast, I was watching these ghost hunter videos, and I was just, I can't even watch this. Why are they always in the nighttime? Ghosts don't have a schedule. And then recently on this podcast, I had interviewed Don and Laney, and they're so they have SpectraWave. They're also some paranormal investigators, and it made a good point. He said, no ambient noise. They use the IR because that would otherwise see things we can't see with the naked eye. So all of it computes now. Now that I know that now, before this, I was like, this is nonsense. But now it makes sense because
there's even more to it. I mean, ghosts are super subtle energy. And then even why don't they show up they do show up in the day because I have to do television shows in the day. And then we have to try to find ghosts at like 11 a.m. And it's possible, to get EVPs and stuff at 11 a.m., but not easy. It's much better at nighttime. And the reason being, I believe, is that even like solar radiation is like, just like it will do solar flares, probably those aren't good nights to go out to try to find ghosts.
Right.
Anything like that is going to stop the ghosts from being able to communicate with you. And then when it's just like it affects our tides, or us, because we're mostly water, but like anything like that, once that solar stuff is gone, that radiation, and everything is quieter at night, that's when they can communicate with you. And when people are asleep too, people let off a lot of energy. When most people are asleep after 11 o'clock, it's great to go ghost hunting.
Yeah. It's funny is it's funny you say, when I went to bed, I wear a Garmin Venue 2, and it, studies my sleep, et cetera, et cetera.
Uh-huh.
And that's a perfect way to see your activity in your sleep. It lets you know what your stress levels are while you're sleeping, when your REM states are.
How many times you wake up? I know.
More often than I thought, by the way. That's the scary part. Like
it's scary when you wake up and it says you only slept 4.5 hours and you thought you slept 7.
Yeah. So now I became stupid competitive with my Garmin watch. I'm going to sleep better at night. My steps are going to it's funny. The watch is making me do shit. So,
but it's intended for.
Yeah, at first I got this just for a nice smartwatch, and then next thing you know, it's literally telling me how to run my day. But
I used to track my sleep and then track my steps. I stopped, but actually I should probably do track my steps because I'm getting fatter. So
I've overdone it. I actually I had to pull back. I went crazy.
Were you going over 10,000?
Yeah. If the first time I saw that celebration at 10,000 in the watch, I could do this every day.
I'm happy to hit my 5.
Yeah. I had to slow that down. I was getting crazy. It was like intense walking every day long, all day long.
So, like in your room, just trying to get to that 10,000.
Yeah, just pacing. Like if I'm not out on a walk, I'm pacing the house. It's insanity. But hilarious. So the few things in my life that I consider to be an experience, but it could have been anything. And I bring up the sleep thing because I put my phone facing up because I listen to documentaries at night before I go to bed. I can't go to bed in silence or else I won't sleep. So I will watch documentaries mostly about the universe. And I fell asleep and woke up and my phone was face down and off. And I was like, I know I didn't do that. But then did I wake up and do this subconsciously? I don't know. I did it. So those are the few things. Or like if I'll hear something, and I get aggravated because I've never witnessed anything. But I heard something in the house when I thought I heard something in the house once. And I'm like, all right, let's talk. I can have an interview. It's cool. You know what I mean? Let's stick around. I find myself doing this because I'm desperate to find something or learn something, Well,
maybe something's finally visiting you. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be great because there's nothing. Listen, if I witness one ghost, there's one question in my mind. It'll put me at ease. Is there is something after this, right? That's the big question for all of us. What is after this? And if that's the case, then I feel easy about it. In your experiences, all right, so let's say when you get a phone call and someone's saying there's some activity here at my house. What protocol do you use before going?
I don't. It used to be a lot easier. Nowadays, you kind of have to find out like more about what's going on. It's because of TV, I think. But there's just a lot of times people don't even warrant maybe an investigation. There's a lot of times they're seeing orbs. They're getting a lot of times it's because of these cameras. They're like, I've got this, these orbs coming through the Ring camera, and a lot of times it's dust. Yep. And back in the past, I really didn't find like most of the people that called. People would say, "Oh no, 1 out of 10 is haunted." I found out like really half of them were because like they, a lot of times you could figure out what it was, but I don't know. They're just it's like you have to. It's harder nowadays. I think.
I get it.
I don't go to as many houses as I used to. I don't do as many residentials as I used to. A lot of the things too is a lot of places want, or they wanted. I don't know because I don't do them as much anymore. But want like cleansings and stuff like that. And it's just a lot of work. I mean, we all have day jobs. We don't get paid for this kind of thing. So going, driving an hour and a half to someone's house to, get rid of a ghost and then come back home really is kind of like what I signed up for in a way, I mean, I did it for like a while, but then our team, I mean, certain people on our team will still do it, but like it depends. Like I just had to stop doing because it was a lot of work and a lot of basically what I did this job for in the beginning was to try to communicate with spirits and find out who they were and to try to kind of find the best way in the future for people to be able to do it, you know, whether it was CVPs or whatnot, to try to find out answers. And I mean, I guess it leads to more questions usually, but it wasn't to, I mean, I never signed up to be a priest. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. Yeah.
But you still have to help people. Sometimes you'll go through someone's, I mean, every residence is different, but sometimes you will want to try to get rid of, especially if you brought some stuff there, if you've communicated a lot and kind of put them at ease and put some of the people on the team at ease that feel like they need, you know, they don't want an attachment when they get home. But
yeah, I speak to a lot of the paranormal investigators, and when it comes to the part of removing a negative energy, a lot of them say the same thing. They kind of veer away from that and leave that for, and it's tough too, because there's so many religions all over the world. And then this goes back to the other thing too. If these entities pre-exist man and they're from, you know, millions of years old, will they recognize our religions? Will our religion be enough to cast them away? Right? There's so many. That's my brain though. That's my curiosity and my
shoot. Maybe we're the same energies from this planet that just, you know, we inhabit bodies. I mean, we're just little vessels for souls. Right. Who knows? Maybe we're just earthbound ever. And we just like reincarnate. Who knows? Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's another big one, the reincarnation. Like there's some stories of like this kid that talked about him being a fighter pilot from World War II. Just the things he knew about that particular soldier and his life, and an era when there was no internet, for him to know these things, that moved me. Out of all the ones I've watched and read, that one got me the most. This kid is 8. There's no internet in the 80s. And for him to speak about a pilot that's not even a famous or, you know, otherwise unknown, that's pretty impressive. So
I've heard great stories. Personally, I believe in reincarnation personally, but you know, not everybody has to believe that too.
No, I mean, I would love there to be that.
I imagine that anything traumatic, even like especially a death, would erase the memory and you start over again. I mean, besides, how can you like? What if we had 100 lives? I mean, by the 100th time, you'd be going insane.
It's true,
because you can't deal with so much loss and so much. It's a way to reset. It's like the shower in the morning. I mean, it's I really believe there's something after this. I mean, I hope so.
Well, I mean, we kind of have to make room for something after this. Again, I say this solely because for everything I read and learn, it can't be that we're here this one time as biology. And that's, you know, when the computer's off and your brain's done, it's done. And that's largely in part because if you read, like, again, that kid with the reincarnation, the prime detail, and like you said earlier, made sense. When you die, you know, the memory card's wiped clean. That kid probably found a glitch in the matrix, right?
Yeah, well, I also believe too that in reincarnation that we probably travel in like soul groups, so like people you've met in your life. You're like, oh, I'm sure I've known you before. Like we travel in groups of maybe 100 people who know whatever the number is, that we just will constantly travel back and forth with those groups. And maybe you're your old grandfather or your you know, who knows? Maybe your family from the past. Maybe I was a girl. Maybe I was who knows how that all, I don't know. I definitely believe that there's something afterwards, or I wouldn't believe in ghosts. I mean, something's going on there, whether it's, you know, some kind of purgatory or some kind of energy or something, but
parallel universe. I mean, there's a lot of theory out there, but like what you're saying,
I'd like to believe it's the person that's still here and hasn't moved on yet, but maybe it's just like a little burp or an echo of the person after they died that stuck around because they were such an asshole. And sorry, can I do that?
No, you're good.
And then they end up that way, you know, when they die. I mean, they just had unfinished business and they're stuck around. But
yeah, you know, or there's a scary thing too. There's a parallel universe where their technology is so fantastic that they could just come over here and mess with us.
Yeah, maybe it's Matrix. Who knows?
That would scare the hell out of me, right? Like some guys are like, watch, I'm going to get him again today. You know, so.
There aren't a lot of glitches in the Matrix I've seen.
There's like, I got to tell you, that's another thing too, is the whole, I haven't even touched it yet, is the simulation theory. That hurts my head every time I think about it because there's so many circles you could go in on that. And I'm sure if we were in a simulation, it would certainly explain ghosts, aliens, and otherwise, without a doubt. Because like any other program, there's going to be anomalies, and to fix the anomaly, you have to write new code. It could be that could, like, again, that could go on forever.
Well, even if you like, I mean, I'm just thinking about now, but even if you believe, you know, if you're Christian, you believed in God, then and nothing and everything is already predetermined.
Yeah.
Then like that's his simulation, and you're in his simulation anyway. So
good point.
Why not?
That's a good point, because who's to say God's not a guy at a computer, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between a computer and a God and a whatnot? As long as you're like the little program that can't change anything, or maybe can change something, and you've got a little bit of AI in you, it's still, you're still the program. I don't think it changes anything on the way we should act in life, though. But like,
well, no, yeah. Look, I mean, that's another thing I tell people too, because the religion keeps people pretty much in order, right? Don't kill thy neighbor, fear of God, etc. Because sometimes when you think about what's stopping the guy from like, I hate Jim next door, I should kill him, but you don't out of some fear of whether it be go to jail or a very warm place, warmer than in Miami, right? Like,
true. So, I think it was like Aleister Crowley said something like, we're the human beings are the only animal that stop themselves from doing stuff, Yeah. We're in our own heads too much. I don't know what the exact quote was, but that we're the only animal that just stops ourselves because we think about it too much.
It's true.
But that's a good thing, because we are very dangerous.
We are very, like I say to people, when you're out there looking for the paranormal, you walk in a dark room. The most dangerous thing in a room is a guy standing next to you. You know what I mean? So
it's a lot of monsters.
It's the truth. So in upcoming for you, so do you do document, right? Video document, just like.
Yeah, I mean, when I have to, we use equipment. I use psychics, mediums. Got every new piece of equipment that that everyone else has, or like even I have some people send me stuff that other people don't have. Some engineers, but. Yeah, I mean, we're working at right now. Let's see, what are we doing? I work with Coral Castle. I don't know if you've heard of Coral Castle. It's an energy type of place. Work with Coral Castle down here doing ghost tours and their paranormal stuff. And I work with working now. We're investigating the Seminal Theater, which is down here in Homestead, Florida. It's like the first theater down here, and it went through a fire and back in the 1940, and they had to rebuild it. It's got a big history, and it's pretty haunted.
If you read about, so here, like for me, I'm going to do this documentary. Eventually, I'm going to travel the U.S. Unfortunately, I will be in Florida for most of it, because Florida's crazy. But when you read the history of what the Seminoles went through, and then like these there's a lot of things that happened in Florida I didn't know about. And before this, I was unaware of what insanity took place on this peninsula. Crazy things happen here, right? Between the Native Americans and just these little wars, and I mean bloodshed at a standing rate. So, and then you had gangsters coming down here, right? In the 30s, 40s, it's where they vacation. Crazy.
Yeah,
shit
at least all
here.
the ghosts. You've got that Biltmore ghost from the gangsters, and I live like a few blocks from the Biltmore Hotel. And then one of the places that we investigated for a few years was the Key Biscayne Lighthouse. It's one of the points of the Bermuda Triangle, and that place has just an incredible history about. There was two guys there, like the lighthouse keeper. He left to go hadn't had a break in like 15 years. He finally got like a vacation. He goes to Key West. I don't know if that was like, he got like foreshadowing from God or something to get out, but he got out at the right time. He got out the next day. His attendant was working, and they had a slave working with them too. And it was the beginning of like the second Seminole. I don't know, something happened at it, and they ended up just lighting the guys ran into the lighthouse from the lighthouse keeper's cottage there, because all the Seminoles came out to attack them. They ran into the lighthouse. The Seminoles lit the place on fire, so they're all the way at the top. The slave jumped from the top of the lighthouse to kill himself because he was on fire. It was awful. And then the lighthouse keeper was there, and the only way to stop it was he had a barrel of gunpowder at the top, I guess for the light, and he dropped it down into the fire, and it exploded and turned off all the fire. Like, I don't know if he knew that it was going to do that if he's an engineer because of the shape of the lighthouse, because it's the funnel. I don't know, but they thought he was dead. So he stayed there for 4 days, 3 or 4 days on the top. Like his body was charred and the Navy found him and helped him out. But we ended up getting just an incredible EVP there of a woman saying something about, because he had a family and her child, his wife was shot with an arrow. Well, she was carrying the baby. I think it went through the both of them. Like, and then I think what we got was her voice saying like, was like, who's there? What happened? I forget what the EVP was because it was years ago, but it's something like, it's a woman. She's like, it's the baby there. It's a baby there. Something like that. And like everybody knew from that lighthouse who worked there exactly what was going on and who that was, you know? I mean, that's
I mean, that would creep me out a little bit. That machine you use, where could I buy one of those? Just online?
Which one are you talking about?
The EVP?
Oh no, so EVP is like electronic voice phenomena. So it's just communicating with the ghost on any audio recorder. I mean, I don't know what I got that one on, but probably we use, you know, we have everyone that they have on television, but we've got the RRDR60, the Panasonic RRDR60.
I got a ridiculous amount of equipment here that was, I mean, I probably could. I have an H6 that's meant for that as well, and then this high-end camera because you know,
Zoom,
yeah. I mean, eventually I'm gonna get out there and do the doc, right? And those are gonna be places I go to and that's why I'm starting this network with yourself and other paranormal people, the ufologists, because when I go out and do this documentary, I want to go to the spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're gonna have the people in line. It's good.
Yeah, this way, hey David, I'm coming down this weekend. You know, I'm bringing this ridiculous expensive camera I got. And, you know what I mean? And
let's do something. Yeah. Definitely.
Because look, if my documentary is boring, oh, well, then it's boring, but I'm not going to add excitement where it doesn't belong. You know what I mean? I'm going to document something, whether it be great or not. So
there's no way it can be, because I mean, how many places are you going to go? And it can't be, it's going to be 2 hours long. So it's gotta be, packed full of good stuff.
Right. I'm obviously going to trim the bet. I mean, there's going to be two. There's whatever I find, and there's the road trip itself. Right. And look, if I find something true, like let's say I go to Skinwalker Ranch and there's a goddamn Yeti there, I guess I'm not coming back, but it's going to be documented. You know what I mean? So
you might have your own documentary just on Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, but there's another place I'm reading about that's really strong with paranormal activity in Denver. I just spoken with a guy from MUFON about it. And the more I read about it, the more frightening it gets, because they broke ground somewhere that never had ground broken there. And ever since they broke ground, it's just been turning crazy.
What's it called?
I don't remember it. Christopher knows from MUFON, who told me about it. I wrote it down. But
it's like another area of land that has that same crazy stuff happening?
Yeah, because they don't really have a name for it. Like, Skinwalker Ranch. It's just, if you look up paranormal activities in Denver, you see a lot of these stories lining up. And, I'll tell you off air, because there's a name he had. I think he's trying to author this, though, so I don't want to say it on
yeah, and give away the...
Right.
I hear you.
So I'm going to, off air, I'll tell you about it, because I'm going to go there. I mean, I assure you're probably going to go when you hear about it. And if we see stuff, great. Like, I have friends tell me, like, well, you're getting involved with us. Well, what if you find nothing? I had a good time on the way there, right?
True.
I mean, what else was I going to do? So
these places, you'll have more questions afterwards than you.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, But I'm one of those weirdos, man. I'm telling you, I walk towards issues, man. As a kid, there was a lake where friends of mine saw like shadow figures on the other end of this lake. We used to sneak out of the house as kids, right? Middle of the night, go play manhunt because we were insane. And right across this lake, they saw these what they said were figures. I ran to those to go see it as a kid. Ran to it. And I didn't see anything. I was really mad, disappointed. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I'm the same. I think that's what makes a good, a good researcher.
Yeah, just
probably
run right
that you're not afraid of it.
Yeah, what's more frightening me in Florida is gators, mosquitoes, snakes, mountain lions. That's frightening because that's real.
Crazy guys with machetes.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, meth farms. So it's endless. But in your experience so far, has there been an incident you were involved with that it made it like you couldn't deal with it? You turned away?
No, not really.
No? All right, good.
No, I mean, I don't turn this. I mean, no, not really. I mean, there's stuff down here. We deal with Santeria stuff, there's there's stuff like that a lot of people want to deal with, I guess, like maybe, stuff people deem negative, some stuff like that. But yeah, it just, I guess maybe there's certain times in my life I just don't want to like kind of do it as much, but other times it just doesn't make any sense, I guess.
Yeah,
doing stuff with cases like that, I guess they come when they need to come, because a lot of time I've been lucky that I've been in the right spot at the right time to be able to do them when I was in the right headspace, because it's certain things are tough to do.
Yeah, listen, people don't realize there's not, I say this because I've researched it, but even from, let's say, voodoo to a Catholic exorcism, there's a lot of similarity there. You know what I mean?
Basically it's all, it's magic.
So,
it's a lot of crap going on. There's a lot of, it's other entities, and it's non-religious specific type of a thing. Right. I'm sure they have possession cases going on in India, and they have
everywhere,
and they're going to show up to those people as depending on how their religion is in the way they need to see it. I imagine that's the way when we die, you're going to, no matter whether you're Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, it doesn't matter. You see things the way, you need to see it to finalize your chapter in your life, I would imagine. I don't think it really matters what your religion is, but
it shouldn't really, because look, if
people would be mad at me for saying that. I guess
let them be mad.
Christians
I have this philosophy, or just a way of life, I guess, right? If you want a religion, try humanity. And if you want a race, try human. And if you want a place of origin, try Earth. We all have this, you know what I mean? We should really be thinking along those lines, right? And then researching everything else should be easier, or just coexisting would be easier.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is everybody coexisting together. I don't know why we can't do it. Why don't people just leave each other alone?
It strikes me, and I was just saying this recently, that it's 2021 and there's racism present anywhere. It blows my mind.
But the whole thing, maybe it's just nature. Even in possession cases, what are they trying to do? Control you. Like, that's what humans do all the time, is try to control other humans. And animals do the same thing. They don't even think twice about it. It's just, that's just nature. Well, that's control.
That's right there. What you said is what gets me. Like, animals are there's a hierarchy, there's the alpha, but they also don't read, write, and use philosophy and have theories and science and creativity like television shows. We're smart enough to know to not treat one another that way. We just don't, so.
No, I don't think it'll ever happen unless they change our DNA structure somehow so that we don't do it. But
yeah, because what's going to happen is I'm going to end up dying one day, and then I'm going to be on the other side, and I'm going to see these entities. I'm like, why didn't you guys ever come see me when I was alive, like ghosts for? And they're going to tell me, because you were a jerk. So. They're
going to look like the Greys.
Yeah. We didn't like you, so we ignored you. It's nutty. David, before we close, is there any information you want me to put up for you as far as on the podcast?
Probably nobody will watch it, but I'm on a lot of Spanish TV during Halloween. I'm on Telemundo TV show and doing stuff. I do a show called Caso Cerrado, which is like a Judge Judy show, which I'm like their paranormal expert. I do that show. So I see people around the world watching me on that show. But no, come to Coral Castle. It's very interesting.
Coral Castle. I'm definitely going to check that out.
Well, yeah, if you come down here, you better let me know. I'll go with you.
Believe you're part. You're in my network. I'm going to be letting you know, because I'm coming with a gear, right? I'm going to look for stuff. I got to find it. So yeah, I'll definitely make you aware of it. And I'll attach you to some networks I'm creating right now too. So this way you get some leads if need be.
Sounds good. Yeah, and people be nice to each other.
Yeah, for
That's
real.
Another thing with the industry. People are very angry lately.
Yeah, well, that's a problem. Steve Murr talks about it. He's a paranormal specialist. He was on the show. And he says the same thing. He goes, if you put these barriers up, whether it be ghosts, ufology, or whatever it is, you have to share this information and work together as a unit, everyone. Or
it's tough. People, when you run a paranormal team, people, if you put out, just like you can't say the name of that ranch, people will steal your locations, and then people have to keep tight-lipped about stuff, because there are people who unfortunately don't do their own thing. They don't prospect places on their own. They just go to TV and find places, or they'll just follow you if you're, nothing's on TV in your area, and pick your places and try to it's too bad that there's just such predators in this business, but it It's out there.
I think the paranormal should start something like, look, MUFON, a lot of people, I hear what they say about MUFON, but they're diverse, they're organized, they have a system where they cross-communicate. Like, there should be something like that for the paranormal, right? Something of that nature, like a nonprofit organization that has a main hub website, and you got, yourself, David, as a representative in Florida, and so on, right? But it's tough.
Nobody wants to agree on who the head person's going to be, who the head agency will be. So,
see, that's where I differ. I'm like, yeah, do you want to be the head of this thing? I'm like, nope, but I will gladly help put it together.
Paranormal investigators are, a tough group of people. I mean, a lot of us are musicians. A lot of us are like, a lot of people are very spiritual, and you've got the mediums and the psychics, and everybody's very emotional. And and you've got a lot of angry people, and it's just a tough group to deal with. But it's good they have these, para-unity expos and things to bring people together. I mean, that's
nice. I mean, like, again, even on the podcast I'm doing, here's an example. On the 29th, I have MUFON people and paranormal people. We're going to have a Halloween thing. I mean, you could join if you'd like. Up to you. I mean, it's an open thing.
What night is it?
It's the 29th, next week.
Sunday?
Is that a Sunday?
No, it's actual Halloween.
No, it's a Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just, Friday, come in for a couple minutes. But I have MUFON people on that day, paranormals that day, to speak about their scary experiences for the sake of Halloween. And hopefully they meet each other, and then they start this network, and this network keeps growing. Because when I do travel, like I said, let's say I'm going down to South Florida, I'm going to call David. Hey, David, we have a guy named Richie that's out here in Florida and on the other coast. And then, as I even in Tennessee, the paranormal technology, I'd spoken to them. And then the MUFON people, I know where they're placed all over. So when I go to these locations, I have contacts. And I'm not going to compartmentalize anything, right? It's an open network to learn. I don't want my podcast or documentary to be better than the next guy. I want to, we should work together, collaborate. Or else
there's a lot of competition with the podcast too.
Yeah, I've noticed. I saw another guy.
So political.
Yeah, I just started this like 2 months ago. Just started. And it's got a little traction. I haven't even advertised yet. And I'd spoken to another podcast. I'm like, hey man, if you want, I'll collaborate, I'll help you out. And he started some time ago. He's not doing that great, I guess. But no, he just shunned it. Didn't even acknowledge. I was like, okay.
I think it's like it goes with the networks, the podcast networks. They try to, I don't know. I think it's something like that.
Yeah, it's
my
crazy.
Ex-girlfriend does a podcast, and I used to help her out. So like I saw the kind of the backside of all that, the problems that go on with the podcast. But
yeah, even if someone doesn't agree with me. So look, I'm not, here's another thing too. I'm not stating any facts. Like I had a guy kind of come at me with science. I'm like, you realize I'm talking about childhood curiosity and theory and imagination, right? You're not going to try to battle with science. I speak in theory, right? I don't know enough. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, right?
Well, science is changing every day. We find new stuff out all the time. It's just, hopefully that these two meet, the paranormal, UFOs, everything in science. Hopefully it all meets. I'm sure it will. It's just, we just aren't there yet.
Yeah. Well, like again, it should all be considered a paranormal, right? Because it's parallel to the normal, or at least what we conceive as normal, and science is one of those things that it starts in imagination. It becomes a theory. Then it becomes a science fact until disproven by a new theory that's a science fact.
Most of the stuff we believe now was paranormal in 1700. It doesn't.
Agreed. So
what are you gonna do?
Hopefully we get to that point, and hopefully, again, I'm building a network. I'll attach you to whatever I'll introduce you to everyone else in the circle, and it's not even a circle. It's just more people could join. And then when we get out there and investigate, like if you want to investigate something, say phenomenal in Denver, because of the network we're creating, you have a contact there. You can just go.
Sounds good.
And that's what I'm trying to get established, hopefully. There is a radio station I'm going to be on twice a month here coming soon. I'm talking with them now. And because I interviewed one of their people, and they want to continue to expand that. That's the end goal, is to make it so we have a nice network. So when we investigate these things and we learn about them, we're all open to speak to one another. We're not going to be like, well, that's my story. That's my gig. Like, look, if your podcast is better than mine, I'm sure it is. Great. You know what I mean? But who cares? I have David on. We're having a great conversation. I'm going to go.
Exactly.
I'm learning places to go look, and that's how it should be. So
yeah. And you meet new friends.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, Dave.
Thanks, Adam.
I had a good episode, man. I'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you. Keep in touch.
For sure. Talk to you a little bit.
Oh, let me and send me an email about the 28th or whatever, just to remind me.
Oh, the 29th? Yeah, definitely. I'll do 29th.
That. See, look, I already forgot the date. Thanks.
I got you, buddy.
Take care, brother.
Take care.